Hello everyone. September the 7th today. So just a few days ago, a few really big energetic shifts occurred. Let's go back first to the 30th of August, when in the Mayan calendar we moved into the green central castle. That's the last 52 days of the 260-day template of galactic time. The last 52 days are all about integration. It's the green central castle. That's the specialty about the Mayan calendar. It has the 5 different divisions, which first of all is the 4 directions, and then the 5th is the integration. There you get to the center. So since August 30th we're on that integration path for the next roughly 2 months of bringing everything together, of finding a new unity, which then will become the seed for the next cycle. Then on the 4th of September, that's just now a few days ago, Venus finally turned direct. Had been going backward since July the 23rd. That was a positive, a really good thing to feel. Venus retrograde is definitely a very difficult phase. Always is when a personal planet goes backwards. It's kind of releases lots of visiting of past situations. Often we have to face what has been not up to our standards. So there's a lot of catching up, which usually happens during these phases. So that has been accomplished, the good thing. And just a few hours later, yes, Jupiter turned direct, stationary retrograde. This means SR, which means Jupiter reached the yearly maximum in longitude at 1534 in Taurus, and is now going to move backward till the end of the year. December the 30th it will turn again here in the 6th degree of Taurus. That is all due to Earth's own motion around the Sun. It is that from Earth's perspective, Jupiter seems to move backwards through the skies, which is really an optical illusion in the end. But that's how we perceive it, and that's how astrology works. It is always observer based. We are at the center of the universe in that sense. We are exactly in the middle, and depending on which side of the tree you stand, you see the tree in a certain way. This is your truth, this is your reality, this is how it manifests, and exactly that's how we have to see astrology, in that sense, earth-centered. So this is where we see now Jupiter going backward. This was the initiation, and there was a Moon-Jupiter conjunction, an applying one, and both in hexagram 2, which is the receptive. So this is, first of all, Moon and Jupiter is a very beautiful combination. It is optimism, and at the same time the ability to just wait and let things come in the flow naturally. It is that receptivity, that extremely yin energy of that part of the zodiac between 1315 and 1852 and 30 seconds. Again, this is according to the 64 I Ching hexagrams overlaying the zodiac according to the human design system. More you find under the video here a link to all that breakdown of the degrees if you're interested. A powerful overlay over the zodiac adds a whole new layer of interpretations, of understandings of your personal planets and anything else collectively too, depending on the transiting shifts. So then Jupiter is between Moon and Uranus. So this is resonating that upcoming 2024 conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus into a play, we get really a feel for what's coming. It's a really great expectations, yes, but visions rather, and that sense, that feeling that something of a great opening is occurring next year, and we're starting to sense it. Yes, it's still a little bit in the beginning, as we have to deal with lots of housekeeping still here with this Chiron at the 4th house cusp. It is interesting that this axis here, where midheaven was over the 0 meridian just a few days prior, actually on the 30th of August, also the 30th, so that was really the beginning of a new direction. On that day, heliocentric Mars and Chiron had their exact opposition at 1716, so this is definitely here in this chart strongly amplified, that Mars Chiron energy, which is all about, yes, facing the challenge, having the courage to step into the ring and face that opponent we are dealing with here. And certainly this is I guess pretty obvious what we are facing here. This is the conclusive phase in this battle for liberty, freedom and sovereignty on this planet. It's the decisive phase we are in the next 4 or 5 months into the end of the year. It's really pretty matching with that Jupiter retro phase. Jupiter in that sense is a collective planet, actually a social planet it's called, so this will be experienced in a social frame, that retrogradation, that integration, again that word integration, of how we expand as a humanity, almost you could say. This is a collective frequency. So it is finding the common denominator of what we as a humanity, as a species, have to do in order to move forward. And obviously we are really at the crossroads. If you go the wrong direction, you fall over the cliff. It's really, the lemmings are already on it. It's high time to use our voice and help as many as possible to still redirect their steps and not just follow blindly in the footsteps of all those before and of all those who are really being the Pied Pipers, tricking everyone to move in the wrong direction. So this is an extremely hopeful chart to start with, and the Sun here at the cusp of the 11th house, just 2 days before Mercury had its inferior conjunction with the Sun, which means it was exactly between Sun and Earth. And interestingly, around these days there were about 3 solar flares, M2, M1, all Earth directed, in that sense also Mercury directed, because Mercury is even much closer than Earth naturally. So Mercury got blasted again by several high energy X-ray blasts, and naturally this is representative for our human ability to grasp things, to understand. It heightens that charge of mental frequencies in the center degree of Virgo. Yes, super powerful, as I lined out in multiple videos if you go back into the archive. This time with Mercury in Virgo in its own sign. This is really the phase of starting to grip in our collective understanding of what's truly going on this planet. This is the phase where it starts to break open everything. And yes, it still takes a bit time. It's as I say, it's the waiting period still in some way. We can stand back and let it happen almost. It is at that point, it is important to, in that sense, really disengage from the system and remove all the support you have been giving, and that's also naturally financial. So cut ties with those who are not in line with who you are, with what you would like to support it with all your fibers, what you want to support, and take away the support from whatever is not in your best interest. Very important. Mercury here you see perfectly towering over the ascendant in opposition to Nessus. Yes, it is about realizing the dark really pathological behaviors we see left, right and center. It is that we have to first truly let that in and not anymore just put ours, look in the different direction, put our head into the sand like the ostrich. That has to end, and it is ending. The sun here in the 11th house and the 9th house here together with Mars and Mercury. And if you look at the midpoints, Mars and the black moon here pretty much are flanking the sun. It is that real energy of recognizing what's been played here. Very beautiful Ceres at the south node. This is receiving a lot of nourishment from nature right now. Very important. The south node is resources, collective resources in that sense. In these last degrees of Libra, it's also this is hexagram 32, which is consistency, has a lot to do with making strong bonds with others, finding the common denominator, and naturally the overcoming of division. Very, very important. Ceres is unconditional love at its best, motherly love. And look at these two. I mentioned that before. This is actually one of the most critical alignments of this whole last part of the year. Eris, a feminine force, challenging everything to find the truth, to find the what is really holding, what is uncompromising, the as close to the truth as possible. Very high standards Eris has. Interesting, yes, I guess it already has faded out a bit, but they tried again to invert it, calling that new variant Eris. I guess yeah, it's kind of getting ridiculous on that level too. So anyway, Eris is very close to the lunar north node, which is the direction of evolution in Aries, the sign of Mars, of taking charge, of going first. Within very close range of the north node, Eris is for many, many weeks to come, and actually only on the 27th of November the node finally will move backwards and continue its retreat. As you know, the lunar node's main direction is backward. However, it happens that it is kind of in this plateau phase where it kind of goes a little bit forward, a little bit back over many weeks. That is the reason. So we have this strong pull toward integrity and truth and uncompromising expression of who we are. Tremendously helpful. The other important conjunction we have, which is still building, is this one here. We get deeper into this in a few minutes. That is Astraea and Vesta, which traditionally have a connection. Actually, Astraea was discovered in 1845 when this astronomer actually wanted to observe Vesta, which at that time of discovery of Astraea, which was the 5th asteroid to be discovered, which actually started the whole understanding. Up to then there were only 4 asteroids discovered, and the 5th kind of opens the gates to see that yes, there's many more of these smaller planets. Where are they coming from? All those questions arose, and actually the discoverer of Astraea was the one who first was proposing the idea that all these smaller bodies between Mars and Jupiter, about 20,000 so far we have discovered the asteroid belt. He proposed they were originally one planet, and that has been multiple confirmed from multiple sources. Yes, we know that in the meantime for pretty certain, about 500,000 years ago. That's one of the guesses. Gives you a timeline a bit. It might be on or off, it doesn't really matter. But what I want to say is that Astraea was the one which really opened the gates to understand this big catastrophe which sometime in the past had happened, that the big planet had blown up. And actually Astraea is a very shiny object, and they found it was mostly built of metals, nickel mostly. So this also would indicate that Astraea probably was a fragment of the core of that planet, as usually the very heavy elements and metallic ones are closer to the core. Astraea has been named after a goddess of justice, and Astraea is named after that Greek goddess, and she decided to stay with humanity long after things have gone sour. All the other gods escaped up to Mount Olymp and just had their feast, and above the clouds said, we don't care anymore, let them just go to hell. Astraea stayed. So this is one of the beautiful expressions of Astraea whenever she shows up. Yes, at first it is calling us to action and really to get involved, to be a voice for this force, because that's who we are here on the surface of this planet, incarnate into bodies. We have to embody these frequencies, these energies, bring them down to earth and be their vessels of expression, so to say. So Astraea is always in that role of yes, let's get it done. See, here is all the disaster, here is all what has gone wrong. Now it's time to do it. And Vesta is being in service, as simple as that. It is serving a higher force, almost something supernatural, being in resonance with that force. In that sense, Vesta always opens the gates towards the infinite. It's the flame, it's the holy flame, it's the flame of the heart, you also could say, naturally in a more I mean, you see, symbols always have many dimensions, many meanings, many levels. So on the negative side, Vesta can mean fanatism and that blind following behind an idea. So that is also what has to be cleared in some way. So this is an ongoing conjunction, will come exact only on the September 23rd, and actually heliocentric it will take us into late October for them to truly join forces, which again, heliocentric is always the backdrop, is the energetic backdrop where we are being fed. It is our nourishment. So therefore this is also a long-standing connection which we will pay close attention to. So let's now jump to something totally different, which links into what I was presenting as a foundation in my last recording on the 9/11 tragedy. This event just served as a surface, so to say, to introduce this incredibly powerful predictive method which I discovered of when planets enter their retro loop. It's again that movement. A planet goes forward, comes to that point where it will get eventually back to, and that is the entry into this S-shaped loop. So that is a powerful moment that is covered, and this was the last time Mars entered its loop. That was on the 3rd of September 2022. Interesting, just a year prior to this, Jupiter station, see 1147, 1125. So this in itself, and then yes, you might have already seen this chart now is here drawn for Lahaina. I guess it's obvious the reason, because that is where our attention should be, and that's where the universe really literally already set a clear direction toward a year ago. And if we look at this chart for a second, it is a pretty difficult chart with the black moon here squaring Chiron. Yes, this is the sacrifice. This is the big price to be paid for whatever comes out of this. And believe me, all these poor souls, poor people having suffered so much, it won't be in vain. That's how it is. We agree on a soul contract, and that is what they contributed and are still contributing in big ways. All those who survived, who are now fighting for the truth to come forward, and that is exactly what will happen with the moon here on the ascendant. And this I mean, you have first to understand, this is the way the Mars energy will express through a whole 2-year period, roughly. The next time we will renew this will be in October 2024. So till October 2024, this chart is still in force, saying this is how Mars manifests on this planet over these 2 years. So you have this big trine, the black moon, south node, and Juno, Astraea, and Nessus. So this is a last really deep push into the dark experience of what is allowed around us. Yes, these things are allowed. That's definitely one of the signs this big trine. Particularly Juno, Nessus and Astraea again, and the part of fortune, clear indication, yes, we as a society, as people, we have to really go and have a first-hand direct experience of that darkness, of that pathological behavior which is left, right and center everywhere. And you see it's the perfect angle here, exactly 90 degrees. It couldn't be even more exact, 15, 17. And yes, it happens that Maui was right in the bullseye, receiving the main impact, one of the places of main impact. Yes, there were many other, but as we will see, and I guess it's obvious, Maui is a very special place. I mean, yes, it is kind of the crown jewel of Hawaii. That's how I at least understand it. And if you look who's living there, then I guess it makes sense. All the very, very extremely rich have their, not all, but many of them. Anyway, what I want to say, this is the ultimate American dream, which we see expressing there. So this, when this finally sinks into the American psyche, this will be the, I mean, it was really very, very much the same as 9/11. It was a monumental attack on humanity. And this will reverberate and grow stronger, as I will show you here in this recording. That is actually my main theme here. So let's just now jump to this chart, which is again the Jupiter station now for Lahaina. The moon perfectly above the equator. Again, the moon is the people, the moon is the voice of nature, with Jupiter here, Uranus in the 10th house. Yes, this is a loud voice which will get ever louder over the next few weeks into the end of October, and probably it will take into the end of year, but I bet that before Christmas this story has done its job and opened millions and millions of people's eyes. This is in line with the solar maximum really just starting to really gain traction. Solar maxima are convoluted events, is when the sun is in an extreme upheaval, if you want, all the magnetic fields, and the sun is a reflection of the collective. In that sense, this reflects that collective chaos which we are experiencing, and this will intensify still. Yes, it needs to get to the full boiling point, and the more people are affected, the more wake up. It is a sad story, but it is we are at war, and these are casualties, and it's just the way it is. These are people who sacrifice their lives, their time, their energy for that cause of awakening us all, and we are well underway. So this is Venus rising. I mean, it's beautiful with Juno opposing Hygeia. health, well-being, and Venus and Juno naturally is that energy which is presently available, and for the next whatever couple of weeks still they have a very close conjunction with almost at same speed. Juno partnership, and Venus is our intimate, our heart connections we have with one another. So this is a time of really supporting the people who have strongest affection for, and be there for each other, help each other. This is building the base of that force. And this again is the base node for this whole time, with Jupiter being retrograde, that beautiful, powerful T-square. And then, okay, I'm now taking you a step further. So look at the angles. 1336 rising here when Jupiter turned direction, going to that integration phase of societal values. And this is the upcoming solar eclipse at its maximum, again for Lahaina. And you see, same degrees, just a little 90 degrees turned around. What is here at Descendant is here at midheaven. Jupiter at the 7th house cusp. Now we're looking ahead, yes, but this is also the energy which pulls us. The future is pulling us towards itself. So this is extremely powerful. It shows that these people's voices who come from that part of the globe will be very loud and will be at the leading edge and bringing the great new understanding of where we're going. And yes, health, well-being, again, that is at the core. I mean, this has been definitely taken from many of these people. They have now understood these true values. That's kind of how it works. So the 14th degree of Leo, I looked it up in the Rudyard's book on the 360 degrees of the zodiac, the astrological mandala. So the 14th degree of Leo, which again you see here on this and the Jupiter station, and here in the eclipse PowerPoint, bringing that up to the power center. So you can expect that this Jupiter energy fully starts unloading, unfolding after that eclipse. Up to then we still see a build-up, but that 14th degree is yearning for self-manifestation. It is an expressionist artist at work. That is the image of the degree. Let the soul speak, Rudyard writes. Allow the power of the true tone of your being to manifest itself. And this is particularly true for these people living there in this part of the world. Manifest. Allow yourself to manifest everything smoothly, easily, and unobstructed. That is the call. This that Leo energy of intensity, of combustion. And then the 13th degree of Scorpio, ingenuity, inventiveness, diving deep to the core of the matter. This is a general trait of Scorpio, and this particular degree, Rudyard writes, it must go to the roots of the problem. Initiative, perseverance, ability to relate seemingly unrelated facts. It is the inventor, the one which thinks in new ways. It's the laboratory experiment which is described in this degree. So you could really look at it that way too. With Ceres rising, oh yes, this is definitely, there's lots of nature's support here. You see in the meantime, since today, Ceres then will have moved onwards, departing from the lunar node here to join the ascendant. This is bringing that power really into the mainframe of interaction, which the ascendant and descendant is. It's kind of like our two arms, our two hands, which we are doing things with, versus the vertical is the spine, holding the ground and kind of centering the energy, anchoring the energy in the intention. Okay. This is then end of October. October 29. I'm really giving you a few milestones here, showing you where things are heading. Again, the 13th degree of Scorpio here in play. This is the heliocentric Astraea Vesta conjunction, as I mentioned before. Here they are at 1738, where Astraea finally moves past Vesta, taking the lead. In that sense, Astraea is the one which has a bit of a shorter rotation time around the Sun, orbital period. So that is the exact moment, and again that 13th degree of Scorpio and Taurus. And most interesting also the 0 degree Aquarius rising here with Pluto right at the helm, Mars high up. And now you won't believe, also should mention Juno again in the 7th house. Yes, that shows that these people truly are coming together and building a force which can't be ignored, which can't be overheard. This voice will get ever louder, as Jupiter showed here at the 7th house cusp in this eclipse chart, which was of October 14, which is 15 days prior to where we are now. Mars in the center degree of Scorpio by then. Oh yes, believe me, this will be a hot exchange of frequencies. This it will be the most intense phase, naturally, with Mars in Scorpio, but also bringing the breakthrough. Again, I said, give it up to Christmas. This is the build-up we are seeing. Now look at the same chart. This is the heliocentric, this same moment, and we have it now in the geocentric perspective. This is how this energetic moment, this energetic merge 0 point is expressing itself, manifesting itself as seen from Earth. And I mean, it's again, the universe is just great. I mean, and I'm feeling so blessed to be able to see all these beauties. That's basically what it is. It is a wonderful, wonderful universe we are in. Everything is shown in its complexity. We can go in with the microscope and see it. So Mars and Mercury here in close conjunction in that 13th degree of Scorpio, which we just looked at it degree of ingenuity and inventiveness, of really pushing towards the core of the problem, perseverance, the ability to relate seemingly unrelated facts, all of that coming together, and a Scorpio sun. If Jupiter here again, pretty much at the 4th house cusp, Moon Uranus conjunction, it can't get much better than that. This is really the fire of a revolution is now in the roof of this collective of humanity, and it is rippling out from that place in the world most clearly. And now we are jumping to the geocentric perspective, and as seen from Earth on the 23rd of September already, Astraea and Vesta were appearing in the same spot of the sky, or will be, I should say. I'm time traveling, looking from the future to the past, which is not even yet happened. You see the amazing ability astrology gives of traveling through time, of jumping into yet another level of reality which is still to come. Or anyway, here they are, 223 Cancer will be their degree as seen from Earth, and this is exactly conjunct Aspolus and Chaos, interestingly, and opposite Ischion. Okay, this is a loaded opposition, and even more so the Sun here just short after a fall equinox. And if you look here at Pallas being the one which is able to see the patterns, the midpoint of Sun, of our prime life force, and that ability to see patterns is perfectly T-squaring this opposition. So let's have a closer look. What does this mean? Again, this is the 0 point. This is where all of a sudden the sequence shifts. Before that, Vesta is in the lead and Astraea is behind, and then all of a sudden that second hand of the clock takes over the first hand of the clock, and Astraea is now in the lead. So this is really a zeroed moment of reshuffling, of resetting everything. And again, for Lahaina, with Uranus here in midheaven, I mean, it's obvious. To me as an astrologer, I will say I would bet every amount that this event has unstoppable consequences. As I wrote, it's a ticking time bomb. It's all exploding out into the open, into the collective recognition, perception. Nothing can stop that anymore. Yes, dark stuff had to be allowed for this level of potential to become possible. And again, thank you to all those souls who are taking part in the more difficult tasks. Interesting also here in this chart, the black moon is approaching its opposition to Saturn. Saturn still moving backwards till early November, then turning around, I guess, here in the first degree. Anyway, and flanking Sedna. There's a big T-square again. Saturn, the black moon, and Sedna. So this is really the realization. As I said earlier, with Sedna in Gemini, this is now all these secrets and mysteries out of the deep, which Setna has been bringing in for more than 11,000 years, traveling through the dark recesses of the universe. And now in Gemini, first time since June the 11th. And now it's really gripping now, it's really gaining traction. It's the rubber is hitting the road, you could say. This is intense. And it's really all about that, bringing things into the open, visible to all and everyone else. That big trine here, Jupiter, Mercury, and the moon. Yes, it's still a bit wide of an orb, but that's basically the energy here in Earth signs. It's about allowing things to see in a new way. Venus at the equatorial point, most exactly here, which means the whole planet in relation to that island in the Pacific Ocean. The whole planet will feel that emotional connection to what is unfolding there. That's what Venus here means. Still in Leo, still in that intensity of fire. The second part of Leo is release. Mars now geocentrically in this 18th degree of Libra, where Mars was heliocentrically on the last day of October, as I said, opposing Chiron at the time. So now we are getting into the geocentric opposition, where this finally fully manifests, that really intense confrontation. There's no compromise anymore at this point. All or nothing. Yes, there's nothing to lose, really. I mean, we know that's how it feels right now. You're pushed against the wall. There's no other chance. So that's kind of how nature forces us to take charge and kick us in the butt. I guess we needed it. Okay, now you see here we have the 24th degree of Leo rising, when Astraea and Vesta will have their conjunction on the 23rd. Now watch this. This is when Mercury started its latest loop on August the 3rd. And that's where the black moon was back then. Again, this is really such a powerful technique. You see, that was when however Mercury will express itself through these present 4 months between August the 3rd and November the 25th. This is the frequency. This is how Mercury will express, starting from the 9th degree of Virgo here, which is in hexagram 40, deliverance, setting something free, giving letting the bird out of the cage, you could say. And also the 9th degree of Virgo, that is, the individual is seen reacting against cultural standards and stereotyped ways of interpreting perceptions. This is a statement of uncompromising self-reliance, which may even imply a kind of defiance and a challenge to society. How matching to what we are right now getting ever deeper into. Just in a couple days, actually I guess tomorrow, Mercury will now by retrogression come back into this part of the zodiac. 112230 is the cutoff line here for hexagram 40, so that's where it will be just in a couple days. I guess here we have it actually tomorrow, Friday. So this is again for Lahaina, when this energy will be reinforced and really starting to grip, and the Sun conjunct the part of fortune here, and again the 23rd degree, this time of Scorpio, and yes, Uranus at the 7th house cusp. What do you think about that? Things are really getting shaken up. It's just starting. Really, we are barely through the initiations which we have been receiving, and now the aftermath is really where everything will be breaking open. So this was on the okay, I'm going the wrong direction. I want to really quickly go back to this Mercury loop chart, which holds a tremendous amount of information of what is going to happen in these 4 months into end of November. I talked about this chart already in my 2 videos on Lahaina, which you can go back to if you haven't watched those yet. But I really had to bring this one quickly back for multiple reasons. The Moon Saturn theme, yes, it's coming to grips with reality. Nessus here too. Mars, it's basically carries the frequency of a Mars-Saturn opposition here, with Mercury thrown in and the Moon and Nessus. So you get the picture. This is really, again, another level of the confrontation, of the mental confrontation, of the understanding that, well, this is harsh, this is difficult, let's do something about it, let's get to a place where we are no more vulnerable, can be intimidated. And again, you see it's amazing with Astraea here again in a perfect T-square to the Moon particularly. Yes, cleaning up our act, that's what it means. And Saturn here in Lahaina, the 4th house cusps, set now at the 7th house cusp most exactly. So right, and then on October 3rd, I'm jumping a little bit forth and back, but I really want to illustrate these most powerful points. This is when the black moon enters a new sign. This is 9 months it takes for the black moon to move through one sign of the zodiac, 9 years for a whole circle, which literally is the place where the moon is farthest away from the Earth. So the moon's orbit is in constant motion. You see, it's unlike other planets which kind of have that same axis for eons, for long times. The moon makes that kind of like the petals of a flower, you could think, and every 9 months it changes signs. The black moon is the collective shadow. It is the darkest spot in the ocean where all the debris is accumulating. As up to October the 3rd, yes, it's still in Leo, still in this phase of of peak intensity, I would call it. It's on the big world stage. Leo is the stage. Leo is that great and loud and spectacular and grandiose display. So that's definitely what we've seen quite a bit in the last 9 months. It started pretty much around the Chinese New Year in late January, which already then, I guess, those of you who remember, the black moon was actually in exact opposition to that Aquarius new moon, which gave birth to the Chinese Year of the Rabbit. So it was clear this would be a theme for the whole year, to face darkness, to bring it into the full light. That's what we are doing, and as we do that, darkness literally evaporates in front of our eyes. So all these forces will be pushed out, will be evaporating in front of our eyes. That's what we will see coming. Yes, it needs a little more cohesiveness and coherence of the collective frequency here on planet Earth, but it is coming. So anyway, that again, 24th degree of Leo, and Uranus at the midheaven. I mean, it's again, it's unbelievable, and that's what thrills me, and doing all that research to see all that. Mars now in opposition to Eris, coming into that perfect confrontation. So yes, it is building up. We have to live with it. We have to live through it. Everything passes. This too will pass. This too shall pass. Very important to keep our vision beyond that point of darkness, of difficulty, of challenge at its highest. And this is definitely what it is. So anyway, now let's go back to now. And again, you see Uranus here. The 7th house cusp, that moment when hexagram 40 will be reanimated, and we truly link back to that initial energy of this loop. Thunder above the water, liberating, setting free. Moon Mars square, nice. Yes, it is. That shows courage. That shows the civil courage, disobedience, civil disobedience. Yes, it's that you cannot obey because you can't go against your heart. That's where it comes from. It has nothing to do with rage or upset. Yes, this is definitely at the base of it, but this is way transcended already at this point, and one connects with that inner knowing that only if I am connecting with that heart frequency of pure love, of the divine presence which is all around us, which is what nature is. Nature is an expression of that, and we are part of nature. All of that is resonating here strongly. So that's tomorrow, and then now I'm going back a step here for one reason. I'm going back to the Mars loop, which was a year ago, as I said, pretty much exactly from when Jupiter entered its retrograde phase. Interesting, I brought it up most particularly 234 Cancer was rising at that point, and that is, as you probably remember, that was this degree where Astraea and Vesta will have their geocentric conjunction just in 2 weeks or so. So this is the connection here. Again, this chart is valid for 2 years, 2 full years. So with those two, and if we just quickly see where were they a year ago. So here is Astraea, and here is Vesta. So Vesta has been catching up in the meantime and is now here meeting on the 23rd. Interesting that in this chart Vesta was at mid-heaven, and furthermore interesting is this 28th degree of Aquarius. That is where the moon is in the American independence chart of July the 4th, 1776. And as Maui is part of the United States, one could guess that yes, people in the United States are the ones which really will be needed to come to the forefront and get in charge, demand opening all those dark secrets. Interesting also that Venus here on September 3rd, 2022 was within 6 minutes of arc where Venus turned retrograde. Could have given us an indication that this whole Mars expression would kick into a higher intensity after July the 23rd, which it definitely has. That was a difficult difficult few weeks, and we just have come out of, as I told you, which is really good news. Also the Mercury Jupiter opposition, which is getting vocal, speaking up, and Salacia being the leading energy here. It's all about bringing things into a bright, open display. It's the interface of water and fire, the reflections on the lake, and it is also that mesmerizing opening to a higher dimension, which is at the motivation, at the core of motivation to get into this vocal expression of what has to be said. So nothing really is anymore hindering us. Also of Maki here close to Mercury. Maki and Salacia, as you probably remember, I mentioned it before, they have oppositions for 17 years in a row, between 2016 roughly and 2034. Maki is that braveness, courage to do impossible things, face dangers of losing one's life in search for that honor, to be in direct connection with the other world, almost like to say. You remember that young man who won that contest of swimming through these shark-infested waters to bring that first egg of that seabird back to the main island. That was the contest in honor of Maki Maki. And that one young man who would be the winner, he would be put in that position of being the shaman for the whole tribe for a full year, being that link between this and that. So this is all resonating, and naturally this is a resonance which goes on for the whole 17-year period. It's something which is like a lighthouse, a beacon. And again, Salacia also is that enjoyment of everything, allowing everything and severing reality in its highest nodes on all levels, regardless, good, bad, dark, light. This really that allowance of the full spectrum, that is what Salacia is standing for too. So a few more charts here. That was the Jupiter loop, started on June the 11th this year, when Jupiter was at 534. That is the degree it will come back to on December the 30th. Interesting for Lahaina that it was the Sun on one of the four major axes on the midnight point, which would indicate that this is where Jupiter's force will gravitate through this coming year in this longitudinal degree. So literally bringing the whole world's attention to that particular place, to that particular longitudinal line on the globe. Also interesting here that Palace Black Moon, which would speak for all those dark technologies which have been applied since, in terms of trying to inflict the damage which would push humanity into subservience and slavery. A saving grace here, aside from that conjunction, which is definitely showing the confusion which is on this planet too, still present. The saving grace is that the moon is at 2820, past the 2815 mark, which is really in the new hexagram, the one which links Pisces with Eris, which is hexagram 25, innocence, and that ability to bravely go into the unknown and open a whole new chapter. Yes, still in Pisces, but there's already that spark of something totally new in it. Sun conjunct Juno, again showing that it is about coming together, relating, depending on each other with the part of fortune also. And again, yes, this is the part, the chart particularly for that part in the world. Now, just a few more. I'm sorry it always gets a little too long here, but linking back to the Jupiter retrograde station of the 4th with the 15th degree of Sag rising here. Again, the 17th, I mentioned that before, the Mars Chiron opposition here, yes. But watch these 15th degrees. That is when Mars entered the retro loop in Lahaina. I showed you this one already. This is when Mercury started its retro loop in Greenwich, the global chart, so to say, the fractal for the whole planet. Again, if you're new to this concept of retro loop, go back to my former video on 9/11. It gives you the power of those moments, the predictive power. The sun here, again at the 4th house cusp, meaning yes, this would be a critical mercurial 4-month period of finding the root, literally here at the 4th house cusp, with again these two. As you now see why I said these are so important, these two asteroids, Astraea and Vesta, of serving, being of service in order to clean up, to embrace the mess, so to say. And yes, okay, and then this is when Astraea moves into Cancer on the 15th of this month, just short after Mercury had turned direct, hours after. I liked that, of Eris here being at the 10th house cusp again for Maui. And 1728 Capricorn rising, that is in a perfect T-square to the Mars Chiron opposition heliocentrically at 1716 as of August the 30th. The black moon here at the vertex point. Oh yes, it's all about bringing that shadow into the open, making it visible to everyone else on the whole planet. That's where we're going. Part of fortune in perfect, within 1 minute of arc conjunction of Pluto. Yeah, it is transformation time. It is transfiguration of everything rippling out from that place on the planet. And Chiron T-squaring here, yes. And last but not least, this is the same chart heliocentrically when Astraea will enter Cancer, geocentric, and I found that pretty interesting that again we have Mercury here now in the heliocentric perspective, resonating with that root of that 4th house in Maui, in a separating square from Pluto, an opposition here, Pluto Juno, so this is a T-square here, and pretty much flanking Jupiter and Eris, Mars opposing Eris, sextile Hygeia. So you see there's so much going on in this chart. Basically it is a transformation of relationships we have with one another, definition of what's important, and it is that intensity of truth which is at the core of everything, getting it down to the physical expression of Taurus. Exciting times we are living in, no question. So I leave it at that. I hope you learned something and you feeling a bit more optimistic, even though it is dark. It will get better, trust me. thank you for joining and listening, and please hit the subscribe button if you at all enjoyed what you heard, and also thank you for your support. Even if it's just a nice comment under the video, I always appreciate that. I always look forward to get a few of your voices. So again, thanks, and till next time.